Mary Foley here, and this is Got a Quick Question, entertaining advice for women about how to increase sanity in your life and confidence in your career in 5 minutes or less. And today's question comes from Nancy, who writes, I'm frustrated that client won't get back to me. How do you communicate timeliness and urgency so that they respond without sounding bossy or making them feel ignorant? Love this question, Nancy, because so many of us face the same speed bump, whether we're an entrepreneur or working in an organization. The common denominator is you can't get someone to respond to you, whether it's a decision that you need or information or input so that you can meet a deadline and stay on track. Here's what works for me. To avoid sounding bossy or making the other person feel ignorant, for the moment, just put your frustrations aside and treat that person like they're a mature, responsible adult. Now, they may not be, given your experience, but treat them like that anyway, because often people will rise to your expectation, at least for a moment. With that mindset, your communication needs to have two critical elements: information and motivation. When it comes to information, you need to remind them of the facts, specifically what you need by when. And you need to do it quickly, like 1 to 2 sentences. Basically, you don't want them to have to think too hard. But information alone is not enough. If it were, they would have responded and you wouldn't have this problem. Neurologist David Colney said it this way too: the essential difference between emotion and reason is that emotion leads to action, whereas reason leads to conclusions. In other words, your head says, yeah, I get it, that makes sense. Your heart says, well then okay, let's do something about it. When it comes to your client or coworker or your boss and you're trying to get them to respond, to give you a decision or information or input, clearly you've got to do something emotionally to get them to take action. Here are 3 strategies that I've personally used that emotionally helps to engage people to take action and get what I need to get that project or that thing done. Those 3 things are headlines, consequence, and humor. Headlines are all about getting attention, which is the first thing you're fighting for. Given all the emails, the text messages, the voicemails, the meetings, and more they're dealing with, you need to stand out. Headlines are short and say, pay attention to me. A headline can be a subject line in an email, can be used as a text message, or can be used as the first thing that you say in a conversation, be it on the phone or in person. Forget headlines like, need your input on project XYZ. There's no emotion in that. Instead, try something like, XYZ project is at risk. Can I get your help by 1 p.m. today? That will get their attention and is a great headline. My second strategy is to include some kind of consequence in your communication. Notice in the headline example it said XYZ project at risk, because that's a reality. If you don't get a response in time, there is an impact. Either you miss a deadline or you go forward without the information you wanted, and that has its own consequence. Hey, I realize that bringing up a consequence is uncomfortable, but you gotta be bodacious and do it. And don't assume that the other person's even thought about the consequence or remembers. While your head has been buried in this project, theirs has not. Thing is, this type of headline and including consequence is infused with negative emotions that tap into things like fear, failure, and embarrassment, which definitely gets their attention. But I found that if you add a positive emotion, I not only get a better response, I can keep the relationship intact. And that's where humor and lightheartedness come in. So I might add, thank you so much for putting on your red cape and getting back to me by 1 p.m. today. Or I also might say, hey, if things have been as crazy busy on your end as they have been on mine, I'm not surprised you haven't been able to get back to me yet. By adding a positive emotion, you're not only helping to keep the relationship intact, you are indirectly communicating and saying, hey, you're a competent, mature adult. I know you can do it. Hope that helps, Nancy, and everyone who wants to get anyone to respond and get back to them. Got a quick question of your own? Well, ask me now at GottaQuickQuestion.com. You can also get advice by following me on Twitter, finding me on Facebook, or checking out my blog. Look forward to connecting with you soon.